Sub Rosa is a game about hearing at least 8 racial slurs and getting removed off of Twitch as a result. Assuming you manage to get past this slur-based paywall, the game is about trading shekels for big floppy disks and shooting guns at people in your way. The concept in itself isn't terrible. It has potential for an interesting game, provided the game is given updates to patch bugs, fix exploits, and now and again adding new features into the mix. However, the jumbled mess of a game is what we've ended up with. The future is incredibly bleak for this game, and the recent exodus of older players who, despite developing an attachment for this disheveled corpse of a game, have still ended up leaving. Let's talk about the problems of Sub Rosa. The title screen alone is a giant red flag not to play this game. It once had a small scene of a bunch of businessmen and women sitting in a car with the Sub Rosa title underneath it. Now, it might have been pretty basic and slightly underwhelming title screen to begin with, but instead of adding something interesting, the good folks over at Cryptic Sea Inc. have decided to scrap it entirely. If you put the two title screens side by side, it looks like this one would be an older one, and this one would be the new, more interesting title screen. This is a good jumping off point to talk about the different game modes of Sub Rosa and talk about how they simply don't work. Granted, I won't be talking about Eliminator, Zombies, or Boxing because they're produced by and large by independent people, not affiliated with the developer of the game. So let's talk about what Alex has made. Round mode was once the only game mode I played in Sub Rosa after 37 came out. It felt like it had humor and fun to be had in it. The concept is to complete a transaction within a given amount of time, either with money or lead. That's a great idea for a way to play the game, and with 3 companies to play from, it meant there would always be people butting heads to get money at the end of the round. But a good concept does not make a good game mode. For a little while, the problems were tolerable and minor, but then a calamity happened. Alpha 38. Alpha 38 was the pack that broke the camel's back because it just ruined so much about what made round mode and Sub Rosa good. This ruined round mode because it added a few new changes that destroyed a lot of what made the game mode great. First of all, remember the balance between the companies? The majority of the time it would involve one company having the disc, 2 companies wanting the disc, but of those 2, only one would have the money. What did the update change? Now both companies could have the money, meaning that you could always play the companies off of each other as the one with the disc, and resulting in a lack of trust in any other company, causing round mode to change it to a team deathmatch. A TDM could be a good game mode, if and only if the gunplay was good, but the gunplay isn't even mediocre. It's bad now. It used to be an excellent system where you could basically do a physics version of the VATS from Fallout. You shoot them in the torso, not much happens, they're usually fine. Shoot them in the legs, they're mostly immobile. Shoot them in the arms, you've likely made it impossible for them to return fire. It was a very novel shooting system that felt like there were a million different strategies at play. However, what 38 did was change the gunplay dramatically. Now if you shoot someone anywhere, they fall down and can't get up. Does that sound like an upgrade at all? No, it fucking isn't, and it destroyed a core tenet of the action of the game. Round mode is broken, so then you may turn to world mode for salvation. World mode was already incredibly underwhelming ever since 37, but 38 did nothing to help the shit state world mode was already in. Essentially, there are 5 companies all vying to get intel from certain buildings, which are then decrypted and used to get a file which is then placed onto a floppy disk and sold on a computer. Now this is already quite a bit more complicated than round mode, but that ain't the problem. The problem is when you have to make a deal in world mode, which is a fucking joke. I haven't seen a deal in world mode since 37 because when you get intel another company needs, the chances of them calling you on the phone, asking you for money, both of you agreeing on said amount of money, driving to the deal without being shot by a 531, you getting to said deal, and then both sides actually going through with the deal is next to none. It's incredibly risky, and most of the time it's for low reward that you have to divvy out between your employees. Divvying out between employees is also terrible because it encourages managers to hire as few people as possible. If you have fewer employees, everyone receives more money. This encourages people to simply not get jobs and instead just kill anyone they want for shits and giggles. But then again, helicopters are back in world mode, so you win some, you lose some. But Alex, I got one question. Where are my bathtub helicopters, you goddamn coward?